guests, and they are two people you'd normally not see together.
Yes, one is a cage fighter, the other a boxer, and they've teamed up for a very important cause. So let's find out more. Welcome to Live from Studio 5, Alex Reid and Joe Calzaghe, everyone!
Lovely.
Welcome, guys.
Hi, lads.
So it is unusual to see the pair of you together. Have you guys been bonding with each other?
Yeah.
Don't look at each other like that.
Well, I've actually just joined the same agency as Joe, and we've actually been doing a few acting classes together.
Have you?
Yeah.
What, do you team up and do a little bit of role play together?
Not yet.
Well, there's a chance for that.
What do you reckon? Are we a good couple?
Yeah,
I think
suit.
You're a nice height together, saw you.
Yeah.
But you have joined up as well for a very serious issue to beat bullying. Now, I can't believe this, but both of you were bullied when you were younger. Joe, for you, was it physical violence? Was it verbal?
It was verbal. See, I was bullied when I was 14, 15 years old. I was actually a boxer at the time. I was British ABA champion.
I find this mad. He's a champion.
Yeah.
He's still getting bullied.
And my school I went to was outside my catchment area. So I was like about 5 stone 10, 6 stone. I was really small. And there was like a gang of boys, and it carried on, and it
Was
really
it name calling or what?
It's just name calling. It really affected me. And when you're growing up through them teenage years, you really take it to heart, you know. And
that can be worse than physical bullying sometimes.
It is worse than physical bullying.
How did
for
it make
myself.
you feel at the time, Joe?
Horrible, really bad. And what it was, you become embarrassed, so I couldn't really speak to anybody about it. So I was embarrassed to tell my parents. I kept it inside, and it affected my schoolwork and basically made me a different character in school, very introvert. So, you know, that's something I stand for very strongly, and you know, should be something done about it. Definitely,
it's a really
100%.
serious issue, and a lot of people would be surprised to say both of you have been affected by this in your life. Now, Alex, a lot of people react differently to being bullied. How did you react?
Well, it's made me and Joe the successes we are. I mean, it's inspired me, and it's sometimes I wonder, is bullying essential for you to, you know, like in the gym, we need to be bullied by the other fighters to become better. But, you know, using that as a metaphor, when you're a kid and there's, you know, older kids or being horrible to you, I was chased home by 20 kids who wanted to beat the hell out of me. And that inspired me to, blimey, I could have gone two ways. I believe what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I could have, like, really got down, but I decided to do something about it. You know, I turned to martial arts. And I always say to kids is, you know, have a dream and pursue that dream. And luckily for me, it was to be like a martial arts superhero, you know, and that's what inspired me to look after myself. And naturally, the kids stopped wanting to bully me because I was changing my outlook. You know.
Trying to get something positive.
I was more positive about something, yeah.
Now, George, is that what sort of like channeled you into going into boxing even further, you know, the bullying?
No, actually, like you said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And now I look back, it shaped my character. And maybe later on I didn't see it then, but as I become better at boxing and so on, and turned professional. So in boxing, there's a lot of kidology involved. So actually, it made me kidology.
Kidology?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, you're trying, I don't know, say to a kid, no. Basically, when you're trying to, you know, pretend you're more confident than you are. You know, mind games. So, you know, I box fighters who are bullies. So, like Bernard Hopkins, for instance, and he tries the mind games.
Yeah.
And I've always been very strong. So I'm actually, you know, even though I'm nervous, I'm actually showing I'm more confident than I actually really am. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Alex, you spoke about being chased down the street by the school bullies, but don't you think these days children have got something different to contend with because, of course, there's cyberbullying, you know, there's text messages.
Like Joe said, it's not necessarily physical bullying, it's the psychological bullying. It's terrible. And it goes on not just in school, it goes on now. You know, it could be your boss at work, it's, you know, going on a bigger level, countries bullying other countries, but that's another subject. But it's going on all over the place.
And there's worse, like you said, with the internet now. When I was younger, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So now, you know, kids go home from school and they can't even go on Facebook, on the chat rooms and so on, and they still get bullied then. So there's no escape. So a lot of them are just, they have nowhere to turn.
Yeah, that's why it's so good, like, talking about these things in the open. And I want to point you towards Strictly, because you did Strictly, Joe. Now, some
Thanks
people
for
would
reminding
say,
me.
I thought you would love, you met your girlfriend.
It's never going to go away.
But, when you were on that, you know, some people would say, you know, when we watch these types of programmes, the judges can be quite harsh in their comments, and sometimes we are watching bullying for the sake of entertainment. Do you think that somehow sort of like infiltrates the sort of like school kids and it comes through and it sort of like perpetuates a problem?
Well, that's an interesting point. You know, it actually did affect me. That I'd done a show that was completely outside my comfort zone. Never saw the show, and then when you're on there, you're trying your best. You train 5 hours a day, and you're being ridiculed on national TV to make people laugh. And it's not, you know, it's the criticism. I took it to heart, and I hated it, to be honest. And I used to dread the Saturday night. So I see, you know, I understand what you're saying. I think it could be influential towards kids watching at home and so on.
And although you haven't been on Strictly and experienced that, Alex, you have had quite a tough time of it in the press with Katie. How do you deal with that?
I believe my martial arts grounds me. I'm focused. I've always believed in what I want, and I've got a clear vision, and that's my key to stopping bullying, really. Visualising exactly what you want and seeing yourself as successful doing that. And I think that's the best thing to beat bullies, is to be massively successful and just to focus all your energy on that. Because I'm getting stuff in the papers every single day, horrible things. The only thing that keeps me going is knowing in my mind what I want and how strong I am. I see that clear as day.
Now, Joe, I want to ask you, because there's obviously kids at home watching this and they're going through a very difficult, they could be going through difficult times. What advice would you give them now? What would you suggest they do?
I would say to kids, you know, tell somebody, don't hold it in. You know, tell a teacher or somebody you can trust, or you can go online to cybermentors.org.uk and speak about your experiences and get help, and speak to other children who are going through the same as yourself, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I've been through it, the same as Alex has been through it, and just to speak up and say something about it, because it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
And Alex, what about you? Would you say speak to parents? Did you speak to your parents?
I would also say take it away from the people being bullied, the people who love them around them. You know, try and look out for it, maybe, or teachers even. You try and, there should be some sort of more training to spot this sort of stuff. You know, mood change and stuff. I mean, I know kids go through all sorts of mood changes all the time, but if you're seeing like something drastically different, parents, you know, and try to have that relationship with your kids so they can feel loved, they can express themselves.
Well, lads, thank you both very much for coming in and bringing such an important issue to us. Joe Calzaghe and Alex Reid.